So I have this like off yellow wool that I want to use for a pair of breeches, but it is uncomfortably close to pale leg winter white person skin tone. And I have this like somewhat bizarre idea to just nudge the color using a natural dyeing process using yellow onions. So this is, I regret my life choices a little bit. This is 9 pounds of yellow onions that I have depapered. There were some tears. Some tears occurred. And I'm just gonna see, this is my first time dyeing fabric, if I can make this be a little bit more appealing in terms of a fabric color. So I'm not at all sure what's gonna happen. I have no idea what amount of like onion skins are ideal. I'm not gonna measure, I'm not gonna weigh, I'm not using any mordant. We're just gonna see what happens basically, because I'm not gonna use the wool like it is. So I might as well change it and just go with the flow. I don't know what's gonna happen. Let's find out. Okay, so the lighting in my kitchen is kind of atrocious, but according to the kitty helper, according to the internet, you just sort of simmer the onion skins for a while, and I guess that's what we're gonna do. This is gonna be a very creative interpretation of like what the heck one does when dyeing fabric, because this is not what normally happens from what I can tell, but we're gonna do it the Embry way, which is to completely wing it. So this is starting to heat up. I'm gonna simmer my onions and let them completely dye this water, basically. This pot is the biggest pot that we have in our house, and it is not big enough to fit all of my fabric. So I'm going to transfer all of this, add some more hot water when it's done, or warm water, and do the dyeing in the mop sink in the basement. Now there's light. Okay, I've got the light plugged in. We can see better. Alright, so far this is like, I don't know, 20 minutes? And it is definitely darkened up. It's hard to tell what that will be like on a fabric though. So I'm gonna let it simmer for another at least half hour and let all that good color leach out. I siphoned off a little bit of the onion water, and this is the color we've got going on right now. Just because it's so hard to tell what the heck's going on in here, I pulled some out. So yeah, this is the color, put it next to the light here, of the onion water as is. I have no idea if this is the color that my fabric will turn, or not. But I'm gonna let it continue to simmer. Good luck, buddy. I'm also just like incredibly aware that this is peak Chaos Gremlin vibes, and that is exactly my life. I am peak Chaos Gremlin. Chaos Gremlin shall live. Chaos Gremlin does not measure. Chaos Gremlin is not a scientist. No. Chaos Gremlin plays. Mwahahahahaha. Chaos Gremlin dropped the spoon. So because I'm gonna be doing this, I'm not gonna be dyeing it in this pot, I'm gonna be dyeing it in a sink. The actual strength of the dye will be about halved because I'm gonna put in additional water to give me enough free-flowing water for my fabric to float around in. So as strong as this is, it's only gonna be half this strong in terms of how much is gonna be touching my fabric. Alright kids, I think it's time. I'm just gonna strain off these onion shells and let this cool down a little bit, and we'll go from there. Alright, here you can see my incredibly sexy mop sink dyed with many many stains come before. Okay, I think I got I think I got all of the farts out of it, aka any like bubbling air pockets. So I'm just gonna let this baby like soak and have a little bath, and we're gonna see what happens. It could be nothing changes. I don't know. I just don't know. If it turns out this color, that'd be great. I think this is a lovely color. The lighting in here is not completely accurate, but I have a feeling it will not turn out this color. I think it will probably shift only a little bit is my guess. But honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm gonna check on it later tonight just to make sure that the plug is staying and that the water level hasn't dropped. But in theory, I'm gonna let this soak for many, many hours. Alright, we're gonna see how the fabric did overnight. It's been not quite 24 hours. And I think I have a little helper. Yes, that's a cat door. Okay. Now we have to wait for the baby to go through the cat door. Okay, baby. Are you through? Okay, are you... Alright. Okay, good job. Good job, Bean. Alright, into the basement we go. Okay, it looks about the same. My greatest fear was overnight that this would drain through and I would end up with tie-dyes as the top bits were left undone, but it doesn't look like that happened. Yeah, this, let's find out. Let's take a little look-see. Gee, I just have no idea because it's still so wet. So I guess I'm going to rinse this, throw it in the washing machine just on spin cycle to get some of this moisture out, and let it dry, and then I think that will be the only way to actually evaluate it, because it's impossible to tell what the actual color is. A, in this terrible basement lighting, and B, because it's wet. But honestly, it's not quite as different as I was hoping. So I knew not to get my hopes up too high, but we'll see how this... I don't want to judge it just yet. We'll see how it turns out. It's too early to know. Okay, this is the final onion form. I am slightly concerned. I've actually just made it even more white people skin tone. This is the pre-dye swatch that I cut out to compare it to. So this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. And this is after about 20 hours soaking in the onion bath. I like calling it the onion bath. So I don't think it's gonna get more saturated than this. I rinsed it, I dried it. I don't know. I have some decisions to make, basically. I like that it's still kind of a warm tone. I like that it's a little more vibrant. This is just pretty pale and papery. I'm still concerned it's a little bit too fleshy. Okay, so I've taken a moment to like step back and think about it a little bit. Maybe it's okay. So these are the fabrics for this outfit that I'm planning. This is obviously the wool that I just overdyed. This is the sort of creamish linen of the shirt that I've made. This is the silk I plan on using for the waistcoat, and then this is the really covered in cat hair, the really dark green wool I have for the overcoat, and it's more green in person than it's showing up on camera here. But like, maybe this is okay. I was kind of anticipating this would be more yellow, and as a way to sort of set it off against the yellow here in this, but like, maybe it's okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm overthinking things and it's actually just fine. So where we last left our intrepid adventurers, this is the original color of the wool, and this is the swatch I cut that is essentially the color of the wool that I dyed. So I dyed it with onions, I got it a little bit darker, a little bit redder, but it is still not quite what I was hoping, in the sense that it is still a little skin tone adjacent. And like, it might be fine, it might be fine, but what if? But what if I tried something? What if I tried this? So my plan is to like see if I can just nudge this a little bit like pastel green. I think there's a high probability it will look like poop. Welcome to the terrible light in my kitchen again. So basically, I want to dye this swatch in a mix that is the exact same mix as I would dye my actual fabric in. So I need to be able to replicate it. And what is science if not replicability? So I've done a quick weight of my actual fabric, and then I tried to get a weight on this swatch, but it is essentially nothing. Poor thing. And I was gonna try to just like scale it up and down, but I'm not gonna do that. I think there's far too much error, especially because it's like not even registering under the pounds scale on this scale that I have. So like it's far too much error. What I'm gonna do instead is do an entire sink load using 1 fluid ounce, which is 1/8 of the bottle, and see how it looks on the swatch. And if it looks good, which would be a small miracle, if it does look good, that is easily replicable again for the whole fabric. So I'm going to use the same amount of water that I would have used if I was doing the whole fabric, so it'll be a full sink. Okay, let's see what happens. Dun 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 dun. Will you be poop? 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 I don't know. Oh boy. I put in the cup of vinegar. Actually I did 2 cups, since this is actually 6 gallons of water. I put in 2 cups of vinegar and 2 teaspoons of washing up liquid and 1 ounce of the green dye. And then my itty bitty little swatch. We are back upstairs, we are back in the good light. I have done 2 trials since we last spoke. I did the 1/8 dilution, and I also did a 1/4 dilution. So I basically just doubled. I added 2 fluid ounces of the dye, but I kept everything else the same, because I believe that is based on the amount of water, not the amount of dye. Also, I don't know what I'm doing, so could be totally wrong there. But let's talk about it, huh? Let's talk about the result here. Alright, so spoilers. Spoilers. Alright, so here's the tour, right? This is the fabric as it was originally purchased. And I was like, ooh, not yellow enough, kinda fleshy toned. Not sure how I feel about that. This is the fabric as it currently is. This has been dyed with onions. So that's this state. I took the dye really well, nice even coloring. It still looks a little fleshy, but it's just more of a rich color, and I do like it better. Then we have the 1/8 green RIT dye solution, and that looks like this. So it still has a lot of the yellowish, tannish, beigeish undertones, but it's just like a very pastel green on top. So that's that. And then I did go ahead and do 1/4 of the dilution, and it looks like this. And I didn't stir it very well, so there's like spots. I would be very careful if I did dye it to make sure I stirred regularly so this doesn't happen. But in general, that's the colorway. So now I have to make decisions. It's really hard. So again, this is the colors of the outfit. Legs, body, everywhere. And again, this is, it doesn't show up on camera very well. It is actually a very dark green. So this doesn't exist anymore, so this is out. The question is basically between these 3. What looks best? Is it this one? The onion? Is it this one? Onion plus 1/8 dilution? Or is it this one? Onion plus 1/4 dilution. I am worried that this is a more green and this is a more blue. I don't know how that's showing up on camera, but this is definitely more of like a teal than a green. And it might be fine. This is more, you can't really tell as much, but it kind of looks a little bit more pukey. It just doesn't look like it's committed either direction, you know? It hasn't decided what it wants to be. And it definitely made it more of a cool tone, which is somewhat expected. But, oh, I have decisions. Behold the mop sink. We are gonna do it. I'm committing. I'm very worried, but I'm committing. A lovely friend of mine reminded me that, like, again, sorry for the lighting, welcome to basement. If this screws up, if it looks terrible, I can always dye it black. The plan is wet the fabric, get it warm water on it, get it pre-ready. We're gonna do 2 ounces of the dye, 2 cups of vinegar, and 2 teaspoons of dish soap. We're gonna do it in 6 gallons of water, and we're gonna stir for a half hour. Cross your little fingers. I'm not gonna film this because it's gonna be ugly. All right. We did it. So it turned out a little different than I expected. So here's the here's the sample. It is slightly darker on the final one. I think it's just because I got the temperature of the water a little bit hotter. And so this is the test one. My biggest concern was that there would be globs of dye that would adhere, and so I was like, on this one I didn't bother stirring it. On the final one, I like obsessively stirred it. In fact, my hands are a little green because I was a fool and I didn't wear gloves, and I tell you to wear gloves and I didn't wear gloves. But overall, it's definitely a hell of a lot more wearable than this fleshy tone that it started out life as. So there's a few issues. There's like a very subtle marbling to it. That is, I don't know how visible it is on camera. There are also occasional little spots of higher intensity dye. I was really hoping I could avoid that, but it did come through every once in a while. It's pretty subtle. I think it'll be fine. It's no different than like when I inevitably stained my pants. But like, there are a couple here and there, and I'm hoping I can just avoid them through the cutting process. Like, some of them are pretty close to the edge, or I can just have them be at much less important parts of the garment. So we'll see. But yeah, there's like, I don't know if it shows up on camera at all, but there is like a really subtle marbling effect where there are like these really, really faint streaks. I think that is just a product, oh, I'm getting some kitty help, a product of doing a diluted version of the dye, but overall I think it's very minor, and depending on how careful I am with the cutting of the final pattern, I think I'll be able to get away with it not being a huge issue. But yeah, I am like 85% happy with this. I think it is a lot more likely to be something that I actually wear. Like, this color is going to be a lot more fun. I'm not going to feel self-conscious if I make pants out of this. I can actually wear them. That is like crucial step number 1. And I think it will still be okay with this outfit, even though it is not the same color as this. Obviously, this is a much more blue-green teal. I think it will still sort of mesh together. You got the dark green, the blue-green, the light green, the cream. I think it will all work because this is still a fairly warm toned green because it has that sort of yellowish onion underneath of it. So yeah, gosh, what a load off. I procrastinated on doing this final dye for like 2 days. After I had already done all my research and all of my testing, I still was not ready to commit to it for like 2 days. And like I said, it didn't turn out perfect by any means. There are those little spots, there's that like light marbling. But considering this was my first time doing a real dye, or an over dye, I think I'm pretty pleased with it. And I learned a lot of stuff in the process, so yeah. Now I just have to, now I just have to do my mock-up. Yeah, this one. Stay tuned for that. But that is another video. Until next time, be queer and make stuff.